this is Jen from Winrose Fiber Studio, and welcome to the tutorial for the Tucson Chill Top, Part 1. If you're a subscriber, you've seen me posting about this pattern on the community page. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I am presenting this tutorial in such a way that everyone will be customizing it, so it's hard for me to tell you exactly how much yarn you need, but it'll be 5 to 6 skeins likely. I've chosen a medium weight yarn. This is Big Twist Party in the colorway Canyon. I'm also using a 5mm crochet hook, yarn needle. I have stitch markers, a pair of scissors, and it's also very helpful to have a ruler or a tape measure on hand. Okay, so the basic qualities of this shirt are that it's more of a relaxed fit. It's not super form-fitting. It'll be made in such a way that you'll have a little more room at the sides, and then you can choose what length you want it. I'm probably going to go for like a mid-hip length for myself. Then it has a basic crew neck, so you want to pick a top with a crew neck that fits nicely on you. And then the other two big elements are dolman sleeves, which means that the opening of the sleeve is going to be a little bit longer than on, say, something like a classic t-shirt. And the shoulder is a drop shoulder, so there won't be a seam at the shoulder, and it's going to drop over the shoulder, and then it poofs out just a little bit at the sleeve. So the sleeves don't, it's not a big poof, but the sleeves have a little bit of a poof to them. So the goal is for each of us to be able to make our own top with these basic elements, but to your own specifications, to the length that you want, to the width that you want. I think the sleeve opening sizes will be good for everyone. And then I know everyone's a little different with how big they'd like their neck opening to be. So you can make little adjustments so that your crew neck is comfortable. So if the style of this top is even the littlest bit appealing to you and you'd like to try to make it along with me, I would love to, I'd love to have you join me. I'd love to hear how it goes for you. This is the first time I'll be sharing a tutorial in such a way that hopefully everyone will be able to customize it to the length and the width that suits them and, makes them happy. So that's our plan. It's time to raid our closets. I chose this pink top because I really like the length, so I'm going to go with the top that is 27 inches long. And then I grabbed this yellow one because this one fits me much more true to size. The shoulder distance is very true to size. And I picked one more, this black and white baseball style top, because the crew neck on this one is super comfortable. So I'll be using these 3 tops to help me customize my Tucson Chill top. This project begins with a foundation double crochet. If this is a stitch that you're unfamiliar with, I just made a tutorial that's all about double crochet. I'm going to link it in the description below, along with the timestamp, so you can go directly to a tutorial for foundation double crochet. I'm working my first couple stitches nice and slow here, so if you're a visual learner, hopefully you'll be able to pick it up just by watching me get started. The beautiful thing about working with a foundation double crochet is you're doing your beginning chain and your first row of double crochets all at once, but that's not actually the real reason I've chosen it here. The reason I've chosen to start with a row of foundation double crochets is because it gives you a beginning row that is very even in tension and stretchiness to the last row. Sometimes when you work with a beginning chain and then you double crochet into that beginning chain, that first row, the tension can be a little tighter and a little shorter even than your last row. So this is in the interest of giving us an even tension throughout our entire piece. So how long should we make this foundation double crochet? We're actually going to take our desired length and subtract 2 inches of it and then double it. So for instance, I want a top that is 27 inches long. So I subtracted 2 inches, and that leaves me with a 25-inch foundation double crochet. But we're actually going to be working the front and back of this top at the same time, so I needed to double that. So I've done a foundation double crochet that is 50 inches long. That's 25 times 2. That gives me 50, and it's very important to place a stitch marker between the front and back of your foundation double crochet. Using my project as an example, I have a total of 150 stitches, so I have placed my stitch marker between stitch number 75 and 76. So I have 75 stitches in the front and 75 stitches in the back. I am a very big believer in checking my work, so I'm going to take the time to count my stitches and make sure I have the same number on one side of the stitch marker as I have on the other side of the stitch marker. Of course, I'm not going to make you watch me count all of these stitches. So here I have the length of the front, and then my stitch marker, and the length of the back. Note that the stitch marker is not placed in a stitch, but between two stitches. Now we get to dive into our project. Go ahead and chain 3 and turn. We'll be working into the back loops only. So you see me chain 3, turn, and now I'm going to double crochet into the back loops only until I am 1 stitch shy of the center stitch marker. The fabric we're making is a ribbed fabric, and we do this by working into the back loops only of each row. It creates lovely vertical lines and gives the top a little bit more stretch. Everything about this top is Tucson Chill, is relaxed, is easygoing. So as you start working your way across in the back loops, you'll see that little ridge that appears from leaving those front loops unworked, and that's exactly what you want. Here I am with 1 stitch to go before the stitch marker, and into this stitch I'm going to work a double crochet increase. You simply do this by working 2 double crochets into that same stitch. And now I'm working a double crochet increase in the stitch on the other side of the stitch marker. So the stitches before and after our center stitch marker are a double crochet increase. And then once I'm done, I'm going to take out the stitch marker and move it forward to the next row. Just to talk you through this, our foundation double crochet was row 1, and whenever you're on an odd numbered row, the right side of your work will be facing you. So row 1 is the right side of your work. Rows 2 through 8 will be worked with an increase before and after the stitch marker, and then carrying the stitch marker forward. So rows 2 through 8 are increase rows in which we'll be recovering those 2 inches we subtracted at the very beginning of the pattern. As you work through the pattern, please remember that we're working in the back loop only. At the end of each row, you will chain 3 and turn. Every once in a while, it's a good idea to count your stitches and make sure you have the same number of stitches on the front as you do on the back. We don't want to let that get away from us if you might be a little bit newer to crochet. We want our front and our back sides to be even. Now, with the first 8 rows complete, it's time to make a decision about the width of our Tucson Chill top. So you can see I'm lining it up to the shoulder seam of my more fitted yellow top. And if I line it up to that edge seam, that's going to give me a top that's just a little more relaxed. I could pull it back and have it be as oversized as the pink top below it, or I could line it up to the side seam and have it be more fitted. So this is entirely up to you. If you like to wear your clothes more fitted, if you want something a little baggier or a little more relaxed. What we're looking for is the distance from the shoulder seam to the beginning of the neck opening. Because my yellow top has a wider neckline, I'm really looking at the edge of that pink top below it, so I have about 4 more inches to go, and my first 8 rows are right around 4 inches, so I'm going to go ahead and double mine and work another 8 rows, and that will have me ending on row number 16. And the one parameter that I'm going to give you is that you end on an even numbered row. So whether you're doing another 8 rows like me and you're ending on row 16, or maybe your top is going to be a little more narrow and you're ending on row 12 or 14, just please end on an even numbered row as you continue to work to get to that width that you want for your top. These rows, no matter how many you choose to do, will be worked just straight double crochet across. I've just gotten to the halfway point, and you can see that I'm working 1 double crochet before the stitch marker and 1 after, so no more increasing. And now I'm going to go ahead and move that stitch marker up. I'm still going to be carrying it forward each row, so please continue to carry your stitch marker forward each row. But now just enjoy some straightforward double crochet back and forth until you've achieved your desired width. And through the magic of video, here we are. The right side of your top is now complete, both front and back. I've sort of counted off those 8 rows where we have the increasing and lined that up with my shoulder. I'm going to switch to my striped top because that has the crew neck that I really want to copy or to use as a template. And so now, because we finished on an even row, you're going to be working up the front row, the next row, you'll be headed up towards that neckline. And we need to make a decision about how many stitches to leave unworked. At this point, we're going to be separating the front from the back. So I've got my ruler up there, and I kind of want to see how far the drop is before my crew neck really starts to curve. And mine is right around 2 inches. And when I hold the ruler up to my piece, 2 inches works out to be about 7 stitches. So I'm going to leave 7 stitches unworked. I have already started crocheting, and so I need to pull out a couple of these stitches here so that I have 7 stitches remaining before I reach that center stitch marker. So for my top, for the size neck opening that I want, I'm going with about a 2-inch drop from the shoulder seam. This is probably going to be a little bit different for everyone, so base it off of the crew neck that you're using as a template. Now, after you've decided how many stitches to leave unworked, I'm going to have you add 3 more to that. So you can see that I've pulled out 3 more stitches. And now we're going to start our neck shaping. We'll be working a 3 double crochet decrease over these next 3 stitches. To do so, you're going to yarn over, insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and then you'll do that 2 more times, and then you'll yarn over and pull it through all 4 loops on your hook. That is the end of our first neck shaping row. We're going to chain 3 and turn, and we'll begin the next row with a double crochet 3 together. So we're going to work another decrease just like we just did. Please remember that we're always working only in the back loops. That is continued throughout this entire pattern unless otherwise specified. So don't forget to continue working in your back loops. And now you just get to continue double crocheting across this row all the way till you reach the end. Then chain 3, turn, and double crochet your way back up. Here you can see that I've just completed the 3rd row of the front, and I'm holding it up to my crew neck. I am pretty happy with the shape that I have, but I have decided to pull out the last 2 stitches of this 3rd row and work a double crochet 2 together. because I want to continue that gentle curve just for one more row. This is completely up to you if you would like to do the same thing. It will make for a slightly deeper crew neck. Once finished with that double crochet 2 together, I'm just going to work a few more stitches and then hold this back up so we can have another look at the neck shaping. I am feeling really happy with the curve of my crew neck. So now the next step is for us to figure out how many more rows we need to make across the front before we need to start increasing. So we've just decreased over the first 3 rows at the front to shape the neckline, and we'll be mirroring that on the other side. But first we'll be doing a few rows of just back and forth double crochet. So a moment ago I measured the distance of those first 3 rows of neck shaping, and that came to about 1.5 inches. And now I've just measured 1.5 inches from the other side of the neck opening, so I need to crochet back and forth just over 4 inches to get to the point where I want to start increasing again. I'm coming back. I've just added 8 rows to the front of my top, and I want to have a look and see if I want to start increasing at this point. Just as we decreased over 3 rows, we'll be increasing over 3 rows, and we want our last row of increase to be an odd numbered row. So looking at the top and taking some more measurements, I really love my rulers. You can tell I love my rulers, but just kind of laying them out on a grid so I can get a sense of how much space my rows are taking up. I've just decided that I don't want the opening of my neck to be too narrow, so I'm going to add 2 more rows before I start my neck shaping. So I've gone down and back up again. You'll notice my back up row is an odd row, so I'm actually going to start my increase on this row. Our odd rows are all of the recessed rows, the even rows are the raised rows, and the goal is to have a nice raised row on either side of the neck opening. So with this most recent row, I'm actually going to start my increasing. Everyone's top will be a little bit different, but referencing mine as an example, with the front neck shaping, the first 3 rows were decreased rows, and then I ended up crocheting 9 more rows of straight double crochet, and now it's time to mirror those first 3 rows of our neck shaping and curve our fabric back upwards. So I'm on an odd numbered row, and I'm going to finish this row off with a double crochet increase. That means I'm placing 2 double crochets in the last stitch of this row, and then I chain 3 and turn. Now I need to do a 3 double crochet increase in the very first stitch of this row. You can see we're working into the back loops, and to do a 3 double crochet increase, I'm simply working 3 double crochets all into that same first stitch. Once done, I'm going to double crochet the rest of the way across, chain 3, turn, and then I'm going to double crochet my way back up. You can see that I just ran out of yarn, so it's time for me to add a new skein. I'm bringing the new skein in with that last yarn over pull through 2. And now I can continue working across my row. I'm coming to the end of the 3rd row of neck shaping as we're increasing. And you can see now I'm working into the last 3 stitches. When I come to that last stitch, I'll work a 3 double crochet increase. This simply means to place 3 double crochets into the back loop of that last stitch. We are now all done with this front section. Go ahead and cut your yarn, leaving 6 to 8 inches for sewing. And I'm going to feed this through the loop and pull. Let's take a moment and admire the work we've done so far. I've got the front facing us, and you can see I'm pointing to where we started our decreasing and working our way around the neck, and then we have our straight rows, and then in the last 3 rows we increase and curve back up. And that might seem like a strange place to leave it, but we will be rejoining the back to the front with a raised row coming from the back of the top. Now it's time to catch the back side up to the front side, so count how many rows you worked to work the neck shaping. You can see that I'm counting my rows here. I happen to have 15 rows working across the front of my top, so I'm going to need to crochet 15 rows across the back of the top, and then we'll be joining the back to the front. Let's start by looking at how we join our yarn to the back of our top. We'll be joining our yarn with a standing double crochet in the stitch just to the left of our stitch marker. Our stitch marker, everything to the right is the front, everything to the left is the back. So we're going to go into that back loop of the stitch just to the left, and to work a standing double crochet, yarn over, kind of hold that yarn over in place, then insert your hook and work a double crochet as you normally would. It just feels a little awkward because the yarn over wants to slip, but otherwise it's a seamless way to join and to carry on with our double crochet. Here you see I'm coming back up. I'm at the top of row 2 of the back, and I'm just working my last stitch into that standing double crochet. Let's kind of have a peek at our work. I'm just popping in a stitch marker so my work doesn't pull out, but you can see how seamless this looks. See how nice this fabric is looking. And you can see how we're working the back across to meet the front. Jumping ahead, I've just finished my 15th row, so now the back side of my top is the exact same width as the front side of my top. The next row will go up and over and join to the front of our top. So I'm just going back, rejoining my yarn, chain 3 turn, and I'm going to crochet up the back of our work until we reach that neckline, and then I'll show you what to do from there. Okay, so I have crocheted across the back of the row, and now I need to extend this row and join it to the front. We'll be doing this by using foundation double crochets, and the number of stitches you need is equal to the number of stitches you left unworked in this last row before the neck shaping. I left 7 stitches unworked before the middle, and so I need to make 7 foundation double crochets. To join foundation double crochets to an existing row, we're going to work back into that same stitch we just worked into. So yarn over, insert your hook into the last stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, and now we start working our foundation double crochets. So I'm holding on to the working yarn, yarn over and pull up a loop, that's the base chain, and then yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, that's the double crochet. And now I'm going to work 6 more of those. Let's have a look. I've got my 7 foundation double crochets, and we can double check. So there's our last stitch, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And now let's look at how this is all going to come together. The next stitch of this row will be worked into the last stitch of the row from the front of our work. Remember, we ended that row with a 3 double crochet increase. We're just going to yarn over and go into the back loop of that last stitch, work that double crochet. So we have joined the back to the front, but you'll see that the base of the stitches don't have anything holding them together, and we're going to use that tail that we left behind when we finished off the front to sew the base of the stitches together. You can see how there's nothing holding them together as of yet, but we are absolutely going to fix that. So I'm just going to do a few more double crochets, and then we can weave in that tail end and secure our work together. You could also save this for later. It's okay if you want to weave in this tail end later. I just thought I'd show you how this comes together before we move on. If you sew yours together now like I'm doing, be a little bit careful not to block the stitches because we'll be using those as we shape the neck. So truly it's okay not to do this right now. You can see that as I weave in the yarn, I'm going up a little bit higher and not right on the edge because I'm really avoiding blocking those stitches. Be gentle as you pull the tail end through. Don't cinch your work, just have it be joined together very naturally. You don't want to change the tension of that join. I'll just finish up this weave and then we can carry on. With all of that behind us, you have just navigated probably the most challenging part of this pattern. So well done, give yourself a pat on the back. Now we get to just reverse what we did for the first side. So remember, our first 8 rows were increase rows. So count off your first 8 rows and then remind yourself how many rows you have between that 8th row and your neck shaping. Those are rows of straight double crochet, and that is the exact same number of rows you need to do now of just double crocheting back and forth. This includes the row we're working on right now. Take a moment to replace your stitch marker. We still want to pay attention to what is our center. I've already finished that first row and now I'm coming back and I just want to give you a refresher on what you do when you meet your stitch marker. We're not increasing, so we're just going to work our double crochets before and after the stitch marker and then just move that stitch marker up a row. So if you had 8 rows of straight double crochet before the neck shaping, you're going to have 8 rows now. If you had 6, you'll have 6, and so on. I hope it was relaxing to be able to just sit back and do straight double crochet for a few rows. Now we're going to finish off the body of the top by decreasing down the other side. So we're working on the drop shoulder portion for the other half. Remember, this is going to be 8 rows For the next 7 of these 8 rows, you'll be working a double crochet decrease before and after the stitch marker. So you're going to stop 2 stitches shy of the stitch marker, and to work your double crochet decrease, you're going to yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, then yarn over, insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and then yarn over, pull through all 3 loops on your hook. Now you have a decrease before and after your stitch marker. Keep moving that stitch marker forward. You're going to do 7 rows of decreases, just like this. I've just finished my 7 decrease rows. So there's only 1 row left. I've already started it right here. This last row, you're just working a double crochet across. So you won't be working a double crochet 2 together. I'm so much more in the habit of calling those double crochet decrease, so I apologize that sometimes I say double crochet decrease and sometimes I say double crochet 2 together. But for this last row, there's none of that. You're just going to double crochet straight across, 1 stitch before and after the stitch marker, and then you'll move that stitch marker forward. That is helping us keep track of the very middle of our work. What is the front and what is the back? And now there's nothing left to do but finish crocheting down this row and cross the finish line, or at least the finish line for the body of our top. But what's so awesome is that the bulk of the work is done. You've worked the front and the back all at the same time. There's nothing left but the sleeves and a little finishing work. So go ahead and cut that working yarn, pull it through the loop, and now we can have a look at our work. If you try this on and the neck seems really big, don't worry about it, because that's going to be taken care of when we crochet our trim around the neck. It will be a little loose right now, but look at how pretty this is looking. I love the way the colors are working out on this yarn that I kind of chose because it was on sale. So I'm, kind of happily surprised by this yarn. I will definitely have it linked below. And then just having a look at it, laying with my more fitted shirt over the top, it's anywhere from 3 to 3.5 inches wider on either side than my fitted shirt. So I think this is going to be a really nice relaxed fit. So we'll be stopping here for today. I hope you're enjoying the project. If so, please consider hitting like and subscribing. I will be back next Tuesday with part 2. Until then, have a great week, and I'll see you next time.